You know, Laveena likes to experiment with things. We've got transit reports. Time to play, hey? I'm really glad that you're here with me. If you'd like to continue on in the journey, we're at humandesign.live. You might need to type in www there. If anybody knows how to fix that, I have no idea. But for some reason, hi, Kelly, welcome. Okay, so let's find a way to share screen. At least, I always have the same problem. There it is. Okay, so sharing for sharing's sake, we are still in sharing. Happy 6-line day, everyone. 6-line days are great for being able to rest. So it's a good day of rest. It's actually quite nice to have this experience. It's the remember, you know, gate that we're in the sun. So there we go. By the way, did you notice? Quick announcement. If you go and search for a really famous person, like right now, try and search in Google or Brave or whatever it is that you really like to use as a browser. Type in Barack Obama. It's a CK, Barack Obama, human design. And watch how now we have public famous rave charts on mybodygraph.com. I'm very excited about that. Okay, so let's take a brief look at the transits and talk a bit about how you might be or might have experienced this past week. If this is the first time you're joining us, you might not know me. Hi, I'm Laveena. I am a human design teacher. I've been doing this professionally since 2014 as a certified professional and started studying a few years before that. This gate right here, the hexagram 33, is the gate of retreat. And retreat is one of the stop codons in our genetics. Every genetic sentence begins with a start codon, the 41, and it ends with one of the 3 stop codons. Bonus points if you can remember which one of the stop codons the other 2 are. And post it down below where you find this video. Okay, so we're looking at the ability for the sun in this day. We're having the sun in the gate 33. This is the retreat, gate of privacy. It's active withdrawal and the transformation of a weak position into a strength. So all 6 lines have this capability of being detached or unattached. In this particular line, we're talking about it showing up as disassociation. Anybody else have this particular gate and line? I don't have it in the sun. It's not my birthday. Happy birthday to Barack Obama. It is his birthday. But when it comes to other activations inside of your planetary genetic blueprint or your imprint, on my personality side, I have Saturn in gate 33, line 6. So we're going to talk about what disassociation shows up like or means, in case you haven't studied this particular line quality before. So the ability to let go is what anybody with a 33-6 is learning about. When it comes to learning about letting go, oh boy, your mind cannot run the show. Because what happens is if you are allowing yourself to believe the mind story inside the head about the self, what happens is it is going to negate or self-hate oftentimes when you feel like there's something wrong or you did something bad or there's something flawed. Now, that's not necessarily truth. Truth is individual. Truth is a lived experience expressed over the lifetime. Truth has to be loved. You have to be passionate about truth. And your individual truth has been hampered or smeared, besmirched by all the life experiences that you've had where you took in conditioning from the outside world, planets, teachers, well-meaning parents or not, all your family, your friends, anything that you watched, the music, the movies, the books, the comic books, all of those things that you took in as part of your life experience conditioned you to think about things in a specific way. So anytime you think about yourself inside of your head, your mind, your internal narrator, if you have one, some people don't. I was surprised to learn that. But anytime you believe that story, you are actually giving weight to Maya, the illusion, the conditioning. That's why it's so important to study this accordingly with your human design chart so that you can start to identify and maybe even disassociate from those mental machinations inside of your head about yourself that are not necessarily helpful, valuable, supportive, or clear. So when we look at the disassociation bit here, we're looking at the sun talking about the will to concentrate on revitalization and not be handicapped by persistent recriminations. What a gift. In other words, it's the ability to let go and retreat and to enjoy privacy. And the sun exalts this line. So I personally have this particular activation through my Saturnian imprint. It's my internal mental, my mind wants to say a different word than I know what is true. Okay. So it's my internal mental construct. And the construct has to do with thou shalt not pass, as in no going further. This is a boundary. It's a constraint, a restraint. So the restraint within this Saturn, the thing that stops me from going any further, what I will not stand for personally, for me, once I'm living life in alignment, all you too, your Saturn stands for the thing that you will not stand for when you're living life in alignment. In alignment, Saturn brings us discipline. In alignment, Saturn gives us strength. It's an incredible gift to finally mature through one's Saturns rather than feeling pain or suffering or, let's say, discrimination, or in this context, recriminations from your own mind. If you can let go, this is the day to let go. Today's a great day for that. Let go of anything that your mind is saying, I remember this, I remember that, trying to make sense of things and wanting to share things. This is about impersonal sharing. When we talk about the abstract circuitry, here we're in the throat center. It's the end of the stream of the larger aspect of the memory circuit. And so what it's talking to us about is the need to wait rather than initiate when it comes to sharing your life experience. And when you've got a six lines, all of them take a long time to mature. That six line process goes through a tripartite life process, life development, you could say. The development of one's life, unpacked over the life, takes time. Saturn, father time. Saturn, that some people consider to be malefic if you study more ancient astrology, as in damaging. A lot of people get really scared about, oh, it's my Saturn Mahadasha or my Saturn return or whatever system of knowledge you want to work with. But personally, everybody has their own connection to the thing that helps them to grow up. That's what the Saturn cycle is about. The Saturn cycle, your return is actually a 7-year, 3.5 years before, 3.5 years after, around age 30, a 7-year process of maturity or leaving behind childish things. So that's why oftentimes when people come into their 30s, I remember when I was a kid, I really wanted to be 30. Like, I really can't wait to be 30. I just knew that there's something awesome was going to happen when I was 30. And 30, for a lot of people, unfortunately, who knows, you know, good, bad, right, wrong, who knows, who really knows? Your mind judges, your mind compares, your mind wants to share what's good and negate what it thinks is bad. And yet, what if those difficulties, what if those challenges, what if those gifts that Saturn gives you actually brought forth some kind of strength? What if it allows you, in this case, to disassociate? Okay, so as a child, I can remember being able to disassociate. And as an adult, around the age of 30, having the experience of disassociating from emotional upset, from pain, I'm talking serious physical pain, like being in real physical pain, being able to completely shut down from the mind's process and go blank. Have you ever had that? Have you ever seen anybody just go completely from wailing 1 minute to complete shoop, nothing happening? That's what I was like in my 30s, where the storm still raged inside. Now, over the years, as I've deconditioned, I'm 47 years old now, so that was quite a while ago. As I've deconditioned and aligned, I don't get to that horrible state of dysregulation in the emotional system or pain and suffering to where I'd have this complete disassociation from my body. Whereas I used to do that all the time, not just mine, but from my body. Have you ever lived up inside of your head, processed what happened in the past, wished you could change it and say something different in the future, rather than being here now in this body, in this vehicle, in this one precious life that you have to live? If you're disassociating in an unhealthy way, come back to your breath. This is one of the things that you can do as a tool to get back into your body. Now you can see that the sun is here exalting this particular gate in this line, the line of disassociation. On the flip side, we have Jupiter. Jupiter, great benefic, you could say, standing there with its great good fortune and good luck, able to give you gifts that you're here to teach. On this respect, we don't have it activated today, but on the other side of the coin, same coin, just on the other side, Jupiter detriments gate 33, line 6, and it says the ability to shed the larger framework that participated the retreat, but leaving nagging doubts that hamper revitalization. And this reads that it's the inability to completely let go. When it comes to you attempting to understand the rave I Ching, the human design modern day I Ching, it's helpful to get a sense of it by walking into that doorway and seeing what it really feels like. And that's why I'm doing these transits reports with you, to see what is true. What is it that you recognize? What is it that you realize? What is it your experience? I would love to hear. So I told you a little bit of my story. We're going to go into the opposite side of the wheel now, where the sun always is. Actually, let me see if I can change this really quick to show you. Yeah, I'm going to a little bit different view here. Okay. Oh, nice. This is much nicer as far as what I want to show you today. See where we are in the sun, the little glyph right here with the round circle and a dot in the middle. Looks like another round circle in the middle. Gate 33 is in the quarter of civilization, purpose fulfilled through form. And it's at the end of the quarter. This is the close of the quarter. So remember, it says retreat. We look opposite in the wheel across the way, we see approach. This is part of one arm of the cross of the four ways, as well as whoever's birthday it is today, refinement. So refinement, that's Barack Obama's life work. If you've ever seen his chart, here it is. All he's got is the same channel I do, recognition, design of focused energy. Okay, so when we look back at this, across the way where the earth is, now this earth activation is called approach, the gate of wanting. An approach that all things are interrelated is apparent and manifested through the action of approach. This is now tribal. It's also about support. And the support of this tribal nature in the sixth line talks about being a recluse. How is it that being a recluse is supportive? Well, it might be supportive for you in your process. It might be supportive for the other two. Let's explore. When we talk about the long-term learning process, because anytime you see a bold blue line, this is something that someone learns over a lifetime potentially. It might take some time to get there. This is especially true, as you recall, the six line process goes through a tripartite life experience to get to full maturity at 50. So this is not something that somebody is going to be born with, and there you have it. The avoidance of contact in general, but not exclusively. That's what they're learning And that's what's most supportive for them because this is tribal. This is the root of the drive to be able to support and be supported in return. Our drive for living in family and familial relations, the love, honor, and obey stream. It's the drive to awaken. It's part of the mystical way. So on one side of the spectrum, Jupiter says, the fool on the hill. This is where Ra got that quote, the fool on the hill, gate 19, line 6. The sage that if you find him will talk to you. In other words, it's the energy which generally fuels avoidance. When we read the human design Rave I Ching, oftentimes the first line quality is something that's more like part haiku, and the last part is dictionary. So that dictionary part can help us understand one side of the coin, the energy which generally fuels avoidance. On the flip side, the grounding, the Mars is in detriment, and this is the sulking child, the self-imposed exile that will only end when it attracts appropriate and soothing reaction. This is a child that is needy. This is a child that has oversensitivity to rejection that fuels avoidance. So now we see the two different sides of the coin of how gate 19 in line 6 can show up as a recluse. And one of the things that's really interesting, fascinating, in fact, when you're studying the planetary life aspects, these gods in the sky, if you will, that hold these gates or portals open to imprint our genetics, you can actually see aspects, words, if you will, within the context of what that planet is standing for. So when Ra wrote the Rave I Ching, he wrote it for the not self. And the reason for that is most people are either on one side of the spectrum or the other. There is no middle ground. Instead of being their true, unique, differentiated, and authentic self. So what happens here then, if we look to see evidence of those planets within the line qualities, if you will, characteristics. Who is the sage? If we were to think about anthropomorphizing all of those planets, who out there is the great benefic who can teach? Jupiter, right? Jupiter is a great teacher. Jupiter being able to expand upon things. And then a child. When we think about Mars in its immaturity, a child, because it's a maturing energy dynamic. When Mars is maturing, which takes some time, it may not even ever have the opportunity to mature. Everybody has a different lifespan, obviously. So this one, oversensitivity, like a child, taking everything personally, perhaps, thinking it's all about them, like Mars does, and then having energy, potentially, throwing a temper tantrum because they're oversensitive, yet at this level, it's more of the recluse. Okay, so we think about 6 lines and we think about what that means. It is detached, unattached, aloof, or I would say on the roof, to help you understand what the 6 line quality brings. All right, so those are the two main activations for today's transit. The sun is 70% of the neutrino energy stream. It's grounded over into the earth, as we can see here. And to be able to source into you as an audience, if it's right for you, I would love to hear your experience with gate 33. All right, that was the end of our transit report. Thank you so much for watching. If you could please give this a like, subscribe, and maybe share if it's right for you. If you know anybody who is a 3362, I would greatly appreciate your support in growing the channel. Namaste. That is my little secret for ending a recording without having to go and stop and start again, because when you're in the flow, you're in the flow. So now what I'm going to do is look at this shared chart of Barack Obama. And we're going to play a little bit with looking at his chart. It's been a while since I looked at this. Long time ago, in, I think it was 2016, I was asked to do some politicians as far as analyzing some different people who were running for president. And I did Barack Obama and Trump. Trump, I actually did a more detailed analysis. It's over at humandesignlifecoaching.com if you're interested. Just type in Barack Obama humandesignlifecoaching.com. You should find it. Okay, so what we're looking at now is, again, this is his birthday, right? So we already went through that. This is a human being that is projected in nature. Projected people, this is an energy projector. We have an energy and an energy center meeting up in a channel. And anytime you want to understand a human being, besides their incarnation cross, their life's work, you can see with refinement, the arms of the cross are over here in the identity, love, and direction. These are particularly direction gates. So a natural at being able to be wise about other people and to help course correct. I mean, we have a projector who's undefined in the identity center. We have somebody who not only is here to know the other through the projected element of their design, but also to know the other because they focus and penetrate so deeply, one person at a time. And this one right here, course correction, I say, because it's part of his unconscious voice. It's what his core essence is and how it's going to be grounded into the earth. And so the majority of his energy, as far as his availability to guide, to be an advisor who can guide. That's what a projector is, through recognition first and formal invitation. A lot of places have just shortened things to say, wait for the invitation. But truly and authentically, any projector is about recognition. That's what they're here for. Recognition is a two-way street. This is literally the channel of recognition. This channel of recognition that is focused on energy recognition. It meets, links in his case, his unconscious auric frequency. That's what Jupiter is. His unconscious rule, his law, over with his south node in personality. So this is a gate that is about resignation, the acceptance of what is, feelings and fate. So when it comes together, meeting through a channel, this is what is created as a hard wiring. We call that definition. Definition is the only thing that is reliable and trustworthy throughout your entire life. So when you are analyzing charts or looking at, maybe you're just looking at your chart for the first time, mostly I want you to focus on what channels are there. And just a really easy way to try and prioritize, if it's not simple, like with Barack, you only have one channel, then you go there first. Then look at the channels that are using activations that are higher up and see what's going on there first. Because, these higher ups, 70% after all, grounded into the earth. Moon is very important. It's either your conscious focus or your unconscious drive, if that creates a channel. The nodes, the personality, the way that you see or where you are walking in this life have to do with the outside of you. So if we were to start to analyze a chart, relatively speaking, we want to look at, can I use that one? That one looks kind of fun. Let's put this down here. I think this might erase itself. Where is it? Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. This. Is it going to erase itself? Whoops. Ooh, right there. That's the I am, the internal. It will. Nice. Okay. So the internal, and this is what is external. It's we, not just me, but you and me when we look at the nodes. Okay. So the nodes are developmental. Nodes, these developmental portals in space that give us access to the extracellular information, meaning solar system, our single sun cell, our planetary, swirling as we spiral through space and time. But outside of our solar system, we have access to being imprinted by the stellar matrix beyond the star field. And that's what these nodes, they're portals in space, they're imaginary points. They are not planets. So that's a really important thing to understand too. And then, of course, everything else in Ra's words, nuances and subtleties, accents. I love using the professional Maya Mechanics, mayamechanics.com, professional software. This is the more layperson software, mybodygraph.com. When I use the Maya Mechanics software in my teaching, in my professional teaching, I always leave it on the magic square. Let's see if it'll let us, I don't know if it'll let us do this in a famous rave chart. No, it doesn't have that, but we could save it to the library. And maybe we could go and play with it a little bit because you see these advanced properties down here. That's really helpful. It's really nice to know. All right, there he is. Okay, so let's change the view. Properties. No, that's not it. Change the view. I'm not as familiar with my body graph anymore. Oh, this one, that's right. Advanced imaging. Ooh, look at that. Okay. Bright lights tend to be uncomfortable to me, and I don't know when you're going to be watching this video, but I prefer the black layout, even though it might be a little bit harder to read for some of you. My apologies. Here we go. When I talk about magic square, this personality construct on the right-hand side versus this physiological nature on the body side. Those are very specific activations. So oftentimes people get really confused and they don't know where to prioritize. They don't know where to look. And since you can get access to this software without having any education whatsoever, it's important to know how to prioritize what you're looking at. And so the most important thing that you're going to want to do is look for the authority. Someone's authority is how they're here to make decisions that they can trust. It is how we are here to attune to right action. If you've ever had right action as a signpost of awakening to be yourself, you know what it feels like. It feels like sweet success. It feels like peace that is free because you have freedom of action. It feels like satisfaction of a job well done, of who you are for yourself, or it feels like surprise. And it doesn't have to be a sweet surprise. It's just, I didn't know that was there. These are the signposts or the signatures of our awakening. It can be simple, so easy to experiment with being your own authority. However, it is not simple to maintain that state all the time. When it comes to attuning to what's true for you, it's important that you source into the only thing that's reliable and trustworthy. When it comes to the reliability and the trustworthiness of one's genetic imprint, that is something that you learn about and it impacts throughout the life, the different ways that your body expresses itself, your sensory capacity, your attunement to what's right for you. Again, right action. Not that anybody's good, bad, right, wrong. It's just aligned or potentially misaligned. In misalignment, what it'll feel like is frustration, anger, bitterness, even resentment, or disappointment. When you're looking at a projector like this, that is an energy type, much sooner to go to this burning resentment, not just sour feeling and bitter, not just complaining, but really negating. And that's something to remember when we think about, again, to bring it back to today's transit, personality, Sun, gate 33, retreat, line 6, disassociation. What I'm wanting you to link this to for your inspiration for today is to source into this past week, maybe this year, maybe your lifetime. Where was it that you potentially did not wait and instead you initiated? Maybe you let people in on the secret a little bit too soon, or you made them forced you to, or they forced you to have the secret come out for whatever reason. Maybe they just didn't know that it was supposed to be a secret because you didn't tell them. You just assumed. We know that assuming makes an ass out of you and me. If you spell out the word assume, you can see. So this day, our day of rest, sixth line of the Rave week, it's looking back at the past, this past experience of this week particularly. Now the 33, if you look in the mandala wheel, let's see if I can pull up the mandala wheel again. There we go. Now we've got his full incarnation cross. So when we look at the mandala wheel, it's a really interesting thing to see that after the 33, we now have a logic gate. Quite interesting, because the sixth line of this gate is moving to the first line of the next gate, and that's logic. This is abstract. This is looking at the past. So it's an interesting dynamic. Let me see how far. Yeah, here's individual, and then we go to this abstract logic, abstract logic, abstract logic. It's a nice, interesting interweaving that we've got going on there in the mandala wheel. So just to know that this process today, where you're maybe wild mind writing, great tool that I learned at Human Design America with my teachers, Darshana Deborah Matthews, Lasita Shalev, Jenna Oblivion, to wild mind write or process this 33, people like we, if you have this too, may become great orators, because what we are here for, genetically speaking, Laveena's, remember, discipline, constraint and restraint, is to share what we remember in order that the collective learns from past experiences. We don't all want to make the same mistake, do we? That's why there's so wonderful opportunity now to learn from, let's say, Amazon, if you shop on Amazon, or any shop that has reviews. People can say, hey, this doesn't work. Or you can grade businesses or companies and say, you know, they promised this, but they didn't really follow through. Or I purchased this and they took it away. They didn't allow for me to experience the benefit of this particular offering, product, package, service, what have you. So it's called consumer protectionism or consumer protection. There are lots of consumer laws. 33, this gate in our genetics in a small business is called oversight. It looks at the big picture view when it's a sixth line especially, and sees who's doing what, who may be stealing from the company. What is it that we need to learn from this experience? So if you have a 33-6, it's important for you to learn to grow up. And that's going to take time. You can't force yourself to grow up. Can you shout at a little baby, hurry up and grow up? Well, maybe some people do. I don't call that good parenting. You know, we're children before 30. Children before 30. It takes time. So anytime you have a sixth line, look at that as a long-term, slow-growing process. For me, with it being in Saturn, it's something that I'm learning about standing up for what I will not tolerate. As a 33-6, which today's nature is, what is it, if it's you, what is it that is true, authentic, real, honest? The 6 has a long-reaching view. When you're looking at any 6 in the body graph, you're looking at someone who's not looking just to the other side, the harmonic gate on the other side of the channel. You're looking at somebody who is looking down the line of circuitry, not just the streams of awareness, or in this case, you know, the expression gates to the world of civilization and form. But it's also about the entire, in this particular instance, abstract process, because this is an abstract great gate. It's an experiential gate. So this experience that you've gone through, not just this past week, but indeed this past year or this part of your life, what can you learn from what you have witnessed? This is the conditioning, if you don't have the witnessing channel. How we read the conditioning of any gate is we go and look at the name of the channel. Human design being the science of differentiation, Ra chose very specific words, or actually he was given. Yeah, it took him 30 years of dedication to put such a solid framework or a foundational aspect of human design out into the world. And he gave us tools. He gave us words. Human design is a word system, a system of knowledge that unpacks meaning through language. So if you fuck up the language, you don't have the same meaning. You don't. You don't have it exactly. Yes, there are other words for different things, but be really careful when you're looking at the human design system, science of differentiation. Look for the truth first at the prime emanating source, and that was Ra. And then, if you want to differentiate, go for it. Maybe you found human design through somebody else's framing or view. But when you find the source, see if this is true. See if this is more accurate. See if this is more aligned. It may not be. It's not on everybody's fractal to be this close to source knowledge in order to see. But when you've studied it long enough, 10 years of really, well, 12 if you count the couple of years I was doing it before I became a professional, almost 12 years. When it comes to the attunement that you have when you study a lot of different ways that people express themselves, and you see the preciseness of the language, and you know the difference that it makes in your experiential and experimental process, you will know that you too will not tolerate changing the language for modernization's sake. Well, this is what I've found to be true anyway. When it comes to experimentation, it's like if you were a surgeon, scalpel, okay, so nurse gives him a scalpel. If she gave him a sledgehammer, would he be able to do his work? Probably not. That's an extreme example. But our work is words. If we're analysts, if we're teachers, if we're guides, our work is to use language to translate source material that Ra gave us, and he extrapolated out meaning for over 30 years, and to further help that client not only see what we see or recognize what we recognize, but to attune them to self-realization. And that self-realization has to come from within. You cannot imprint your preferences or your predispositions onto that client to have any kind of huge success. And this is the challenge that I put out to you. See if it's true for you. See what's right for you, if it's right for you to do too. To go back to source. This is my inspiration for you. Ra had Pluto in the 33.6. He did say somewhere, if anybody finds it, please let me know where. I can't find it anymore. I can't remember. But all 33 sixes are here to truly put human design out into the world. And so this has been part of my mission as I move through this time in my process, is to come back to source, for language anyway, for the interpretation, for the authentic resonance with source material. Not that I know it all, just that I know it works. Okay, there it feels like enough for the day. Enjoy your week. I'll see you next time. Hopefully I'll be able to catch the first line and continue on in our journey of experiencing and expressing the rave weeks together. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Help the channel grow. Comment down below, and I'll see you